Hey class! So we're back. So after our week of doing memes and understanding the TikTok influencers paradigm, we're going to be talking a little bit more about memes and more about influencers. So today you're going to get part one of what makes an influencer an influencer. Tonight's readings are a reading. It's something I wrote quite a while back that I presented at the Salisbury Academy on Media and Global Change. It's pretty important to tonight because it's really the other half of this lecture. In terms of like seeing a lot of the media I'm going to be referencing, you have to see it in that article. Due to both copyright and time, it would take about, I don't know, an hour of this lecture to incorporate all those little videos plus all the text. So it's better if you just read that essay that I wrote. On top of that, you're going to be watching a short video about influencers as well, and it's going to apply to your assignment at the end of this. For homework, my most fun is you're going to try to be an influencer yourself, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. But first I want to go over just a recap of the memes. So a lot of you put in these incredible, hilarious memes. Some of the memes you shared I've never seen, and whenever I don't see a meme for the first time, I'm like really impressed. So I thank you for sharing the memes that are really like spectacular to you, and that was really great, so I appreciate that. But let's go over what are memes. In their base core structure, the thing that I think most of you identified is that memes are relatable. They relate to something that you like, relate to people around you that you like. They're shareable by an in-group. That's probably the most important takeaway that like you could pretty much find for any meme is that an in-group has it. But one of the things that I need you to remember when we study memes or talk about memes or study influencers and why memes precedes the influencers lecture so closely is that memes contain energy. And what I mean by that is they contain a type of energy that makes you do something. And what that doing something is the desire to share it or the desire to laugh. It is an emotional packed energy that sits inside of these memes that makes you do things. And that's why the more compact you can make a message and make a meme something more shareable, the more easy it is to share with another person. And think about how much power a meme has in that case. When we think about Pepe the Frog in its most simplistic case, is we think about Pepe's phrase, feels good man. It's as simple as that. Feels good man has such an impactful amount of energy that can be played with across any type of ideology. Of course, that's what it did. Now keep in mind that there's people who do this as influencers. There are people who make memes and do memes constantly. We call them meme lords or edge lords if you're like really want to get edgy and shit. But meme lords are really the type of people that make and curate memes. They're the people that run meme pages across the internet, and there's hundreds and hundreds of meme lords out there. And these meme lords are pretty important to our discourse because when you use Instagram or many of our platforms, you're going to encounter some type of meme lord that has commodified their experience. And what I mean by that is they accept sometimes income to put ads on it because they've created enough influence that the people that read their meme pages are going to make purchasing decisions based on their pages. That's an influencer. So meme lords are really part of the influencer conversation. Curation is a big part of being a meme lord. If you know how to read memes well, you could collect them. And usually they're thematic. They're about one type of thing. So every meme page has its own type of like theme. I would say some of the most interesting that I like are T. Hanks. That's like Americana as a theme, like what America is. Then you have your basics, your normie memes, which is like what people always say when it goes to Instagram, it dies. So it's like Shithead Steve and a couple of the other ones. And those are memes that are basically accepted by a more mass audience. There's some really esoteric meme pages too, which I'm not gonna get into here, but there's a lot out there that are, to me, really, really funny. But it's different than shitposting, which we'll get to later in the semester. That term is academic. And later in the semester, when we talk about extremism or ideological shifts and partisanship, that is an ideological movement or an attack using memes as a weapon. One of the things that you should know is that the meme lords know something about what influencers know as well. They know how metrics work. Next week, we're going to be talking a lot about metrics and how they operate and what you can do with your metrics. Meme lords know how to operate memes. They use testing spaces. A lot of meme lords today are placing their memes in the Instagram stories because right now, the most important parts of the algorithm on Instagram are as follows in terms of power: sharing, saving, commenting, liking. Liking is nearly useless. So when you like a post, it doesn't do anything. Maybe it shows a brand that your enough audience or volume is there, but it really does nothing in terms of like meme discussion. When you share a meme, that's the most powerful you could have on a meme, because it means the meme producer, the meme lord, that's the one you like the most. They can also see every time you save a meme, when you use the save feature on Instagram, they could see that analytic. And that type of analytic helps them understand what you want to keep for later, because it's more, how do we put this? Timeless. It means something to you in the future tense. So somewhere down the line, you're still going to want to use it. And I think that's pretty cool too. So now let's shift a bit. What's an influencer? An influencer is a step above where meme lords are. An influencer is somebody who literally their career is influencing you to make purchasing decisions. Part of your consumer behavior is because of somebody who runs some sort of account that changes the way that you interact with things. The term influencer actually comes from Instagram. Instagram developed it in Sarah Fryer's book, No Filter, which you should read if you're truly interested in the history of the internet. She talks about the history of Instagram and Instagram pages. And one of the most important parts is early on in Instagram's development, they used animals as influencers, puppies, dogs, cute animals, and so forth. And then later, the first influencers were the Kardashians. They helped the Kardashians leverage their brand by calling them influencers. That's where that term comes from. One of the things about Instagram, and you probably know this already, and we kind of should have gone over this in the very first day of class, is what do these platforms actually do? Instagram, like Snapchat, are platforms based on FOMO. They're designed specifically for you to use the aesthetic that when you produce something on Instagram, you're producing the best version of that because you're creating jealousy. That's its goal. FOMO is part of the product design of Instagram. So you're supposed to be using it to present a false reality that causes people to either want to be you or want to be with you. And that's a big part of the way that influence works. That's the feature in which it does it. When we talk about other types of influencers, we're talking about vloggers or YouTubers or people that have used video media to become the type of influencer that we kind of look to today. In the essay, YouTube, Populism, and the Commodity of the Authentic, which is for homework, you have to read it, okay? So this is an extension on this. That means more than this lecture is you're gonna have to read this article. It's pretty long. It talks about all the ways that the good influencers basically started the entirety of the field. How did they develop what influencing is? And then what happens when you figure out how to make the influence work so well that it actually is misused by bad actors? So that's what my talk was about a few years ago. And unfortunately, like my Pepe essay back in 2015, a lot of what I actually wrote came unfortunately true. But it was about influence itself and how YouTubers themselves do their techniques. One of the earliest YouTubers is Tyler Oakley, and he's one of my big case studies at the beginning of that essay. And if you're not familiar with Tyler Oakley, the essay will get you through it. When you watch the video Raindrops, it's basically at this point a cringe video. It is so difficult to watch, but Tyler develops a style of vlogging that is still used to this day. He used jump cuts, direct address viewing. I'm using the technique right now. I'm not using music, which is what he does, but I'm speaking to you directly through the camera as if I'm speaking to you, the you being you, royal you, but to you it might feel like I'm just speaking personally to you. The setting. Today I'm not in my office at home, so I'm in a very sparse office that I'm borrowing. And this setting is not great for telling stories or setting myself up as an influencer. There's noises in the background I'm uncontrol of. There's no real design on the walls. There's no character. A vlogger or an influencer should have a way of telling their character across their screen. All of this is about connecting to the audience. In other words, my way of speaking is part of that. I'm delivering my voice in a way that intonates certain ways. A vlogger, a YouTuber, and an influencer uses a linguistic technique called the schwa. There's something interesting. This is in the essay, but I'm going to say it here because it's harder to see or harder to read and understand unless you hear it. The schwa is a noise. It sounds like this. It's spelled E-U-H, and it's That sound comes in with all of the influencers' way of talking. And it sounds like, hey guys! And if you hear the guys, that noise is and that, believe it or not, is part of a mimetic way we understand sound. It's a way of a wavelength. And if you're in a mall or you're in a public space and you can't find friends and you actually do the hey guys noise, the YouTuber voice, people will look in your direction because it's like an ear tick. People start looking over because they hear that noise and it grabs your attention. So I could start every class with, "Hey class," which I kind of do, but I don't make my voice raise to the linguistic tick, the schwa that gets you there. But here's the downside. Here's where it gets kind of dark. Our ability to talk across screens has a lot of power. They create something known as parasocial relationships. It's not a new term. It comes from probably from the 1950s in soap operas. And that's when you watch something too often, you get to know the character on the other side of the screen. It happens in fandoms very often. You start creating a character that doesn't really exist, and then you start judging the character based on its incomprehensible reality. So parasocial relationships are when an influencer actually does influence you. You will start allowing them to be part of a relationship with you above and beyond the screen. Things they say influence your purchasing and consuming decisions. That's a parasocial relationship. Even further, it's when you invent a character that they may not be able to uphold to, which is later on we'll talk about milkshake ducking, but that's kind of what that is. Very recently, this is what happened with John Mulaney, where people have developed a parasocial relationship with this character version of himself, not his real self, and wanted to judge his personal lifestyle choices based on an invention that they made up for him. So these are types of parasocial relationships. All of these skills are accessible. It means that any of us can be an influencer. All of us. We don't have to use the schwa, we don't have to use the right setting, we don't have to use the right camera for any matter. You could just do certain different techniques that no one else does. For homework, you're going to make a very short influencer video, a very short YouTube introduction, or you could record it directly onto Blackboard or upload a file in case you don't want it public. You could post these as unlisted, okay? I highly recommend unlisted. It means no one can find it. You can only find it via the share link. That's what these videos, the one you're watching right now, is posted as unlisted. That means I have to supply you with the link. You can't go search for this video. And so you should upload it to YouTube as unlisted. I want you to share that in the discussion board. You could work with a friend. If you have a friend in this class that you want to team up with, in that case, it has to be 2 minutes. For you, it has to be 1 minute, okay? Try to stick to 1 minute, okay? If it goes to as long as 1 minute and 30 seconds, that's fine, but do not go over 1:30. But all I want you to talk about is introduce yourself and what your favorite hobby is, because usually influencers talk about the things they love. That's it. Because if you love something, someone else probably does too. And that's how you gain an audience, which is what we're going to talk about next week. So for homework, you're going to make a 1-minute video of your passion, your hobby, something that you love, and you're going to post it on the discussion board. Next week's homework is we're going to comment on those. See, this is due before next week. But I want you to post it. And it's all constructive. This is a no judgment space. This is very important. Do not share these videos outside our discussion board. And these are for us only. And this is for us to basically enjoy to introduce ourselves as a visual way of introducing. You have to remember that this is a build off of our generation like part. And this is important for us to really kind of understand. And this is why you're also going to read YouTube, Populism, and the Commodity Authentic, my essay, as well as watch the video about Jordan Shaheen and the downside, the dark sides of influencers. It's really important because you get to see things that are kind of behind the magic of it, that there's some darker parts. Because when you become an influencer, you become a brand. And when you become a brand, it means that your brand has to stay pretty active, but also pretty consistent. And if you show somebody how the sausage is made, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So you have to remember that. But you also have to know that your brand has a lot of power. In the essay, my YouTube essay, Casey Neistat's video is really important. It's the do what you can't video. Your assignment prompt is going to be based on that video as well as the rest of the essay. Do you think that video tells you to do certain things? And what does that video really do? That do what you can't video is a very tricky video to watch, and I want to see if any of you get it. There's something you're watching that's pretty interesting in that. And then you have to remember that all of these things are historical. When Tyler Oakley started in 2006 and 2007, he did not know that he would be the Tyler Oakley of today. Casey Neistat, when he was making his bicycle videos in New York City, did not know he would be making these types of videos as calls to action. But some people do know what they're doing. And in my essay, you'll see towards the end, the people that kind of get to use these tools for a nefarious way. As we all know, with great power comes great responsibility. So remember, that when you're telling somebody a story across visuals, when you're using media, you're also taking somebody's time. You're occupying a bit of their life for a period of time. That's a ton of power that you have. When you make your 1 minute video, it means all of you have 1 minute of control over somebody else. That's a lot of power. But my goal is that you understand this creatively and you understand critically how powerful this can be, so you can keep an eye out to other people that are manipulating you using the same sort of technique. And I think you can, and I think a lot of this is learning all these different ways that we engage with media and influencers as we go forward, because all of this is changing all the time. So until next time, have a really great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay curious.